Here's a question from Paula in Pennsylvania. I actually know this Paula very well. This is from my hometown in Pennsylvania. She said, I'm 59 years old. I have an inherited IRA and a Roth IRA from my father. And in almost 5 years that I've had it, it started at about $8,000, got up to almost $14,000 in 2020, but is now back down to about $12,000. It's in a Vanguard account. I know very little about it. I don't want it to keep dropping. What should I do with it? I'm looking into Timothy Plan, but I don't know how much. I don't know much about investing and finances. And then she says, "Thank you so much for your help and wisdom, Shanna."
Okay, great. So a couple of things there. If you're invested in equities, you're going to see some volatility. So you're going to see exactly what you described. It went from 8 to 14. Now it's down to 12. And I think the time frame was about 5 years. So if you take out that 14 and you just look from 8 to 12 and the last 5 years, that's a 50% increase. So when we do investing, we have to take, at least what we put forth here at the ministry, is we need to take a long-term approach. So if you look at the markets over the last 50 years, the S&P 500, let's just say, the S&P 500 has averaged between 9 and 10% over the last 50 years. But if you look at those individual years, you're not likely to find, there's only like 1 year that comes close to that 9% average, and there's only like 10 years out of the 50 years that are within a 1 percentage point range of that 9%. So there's 13, I believe there was like 37 positive years, and the rest of them were negative years. So the good news is that there's a whole lot more positive years than negative years, and the negative years average a decrease of about 13%, and the good years average an increase of about 20%. So when you have the good years, they're really good, and when you have the negative years, they're really far less than that average of 9%. But when you average them all out together, that's what you have. So as you're looking at it, you can never think of, I'm locking in those highs. Every time it goes, to a new high, I'm locking in that high, because you're going to have fluctuation there. And I think that's okay. Now, to speak to the other part of that, I prefer the Timothy Plan over Vanguard because they are biblically responsible. And, that's what, if you missed the last little segment of the show, I talked a lot about biblically responsible investing on today's show. So if you missed that, you may want to go back on the podcast and listen to it. But, the thing about it is the scripture tells us so many times, do not worry, do not fear, be of good courage, keep your eyes fixed on the Lord. And so any increase that we have is a blessing from the Lord, and He owns everything. So what we want to make sure first and foremost that we do is we give Him His proper place and we honor Him. And so we can honor Him by being biblically responsible with those funds, and moving them from a company that's not biblically responsible to a company that is biblically responsible. So I would encourage you, if you're not a partner, become a partner. Look at the asset allocation models. The Timothy allocation model is very easy to follow. If you want a low maintenance way of doing it, you can follow that. You might be able to keep the account where it is, unless it's just on the mutual fund side of the company that you mentioned. You would have to be in the brokerage side where you could purchase those different funds and ETFs. If you want a more hands-on approach and to build a biblically responsible portfolio, you can use the investment strategy for your age, and you can follow that asset allocation model. And there's a lot of videos on the partner side that explain just how to do that. We encourage you, don't get in a hurry, don't get in a rush, take your time, understand the strategy. The most important thing is that you believe in your strategy and you stay disciplined. You stick to it, because a long-term strategy might not look like it's working in the short term. You might need that longer term perspective. So just stick with it.